Good evening and welcome to the Defiance City Council meeting for August 1st, 2023. Before we get underway, it's our tradition to open in prayer. Pastor Pete Flores has joined us tonight. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Let's go ahead and bow our heads in prayer. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity to stand in this room with these individuals today, dear Heavenly Father, Lord, as they make decisions for this city, Lord. I pray that you would protect their hearts and their minds, Lord, that you would put favor upon them, Lord. And as your word says, all that they would do, Lord, would prosper. We thank you. In your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We'll call the meeting in order. Let the record show we have a quorum present. We are missing a couple members tonight, and Joe Crutch is not here tonight. Do I have a motion to excuse?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
President McMasters is also missing, so do I have a motion to excuse?
So moved.
And a second, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Before we get to the pledge, I'd like to bring up that a former member of our council has passed away. Pete Lundberg passed away Sunday. Loved this community, did a lot of great work, volunteered for a lot of things. So I'd ask as we do this that you stand with me and for a moment of silence. And when that's finished, please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we get started with the council agenda, we have two public hearings tonight. Mr. O'Donnell, would you start us off, please?
Thank you. The first one on the agenda is for planned unit development for Legacy Living of Defiance. This is an applicant who wishes to construct a new long-term care facility at 309 Latchaw Drive. The applicant has submitted the preliminary plan, as you can see, amended shortly before the June 19th Planning Commission meeting. And he is requesting an office retail mixed-use planned unit development zoning, base zoning. And Section 1171.06C lays out the process for approving these districts. And specifically, 1171.06C4 requires this council, this body, to hold a public hearing within 40 days of receipt of Planning Commission's recommendation. And on the 19th, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of both the preliminary plan and the base zoning map amendment for the PUD. So the purpose of this public hearing is for you as elected officials to get any final input from members of the public and allow for public comment before taking up the legislation, which we anticipate will be first reading next week on August 8th. And it's my understanding that a representative from the applicant, Allied Development Company, is here to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you.
May I take podium?
Please.
All right. We're also warehousing Allied Development, Crestwood, Kentucky, 4658 Sivington Circle. Real quick, you mentioned it was long-term care. Just want to specify it's actually residential care. Long-term care actually relates to skilled care, which is a CON, Certificate of Need, in the state of Ohio. We will not have a certificate of need for this building. It is a 65 assisted living, 29 memory care building within the main building. And then we have 5 outbuildings, which will have 6 units within each one. Those are considered independent living. So just wanted to clarify that. So a little bit about this market. This is a market I've been looking at for probably about 2.5 years. I've been doing senior living development for about 23 years, ever since I got out of college. And in this northwestern quadrant of Ohio, I've developed or helped assist develop about 17 properties, all the way from Lima, Bellefonte, over to Willard, now hopefully into Defiance and up to Sylvania and all properties in between, North Baltimore, Findlay, a lot of the cities. We always target secondary markets, and we like secondary markets because a lot of other people want to go to the Toledos, the Columbuses, and Fort Waynes, but we want to go to places where seniors want to continue to live there and not have to feel like they have to move out of their community that they raise their children in. Real quick about your market. We did a third-party market study. We went out 16 miles in every direction here from Defiance. That was 630 beds. Out of the 630 beds, the average occupancy for all 630 was 96%. That's unheard of. The lowest of the 14 communities that we surveyed was 92%. 5 of them were 100% occupancy, with one of them being here in town. I think Kingsbury was 98% and Glen Park was 100% with the wait list. So obviously there's a need for this in this community. If you look in about 5 years, the need's going to be 165 beds that are unmet right now in Defiance. And that's for memory care only. For the assisted living side, the unmet demand is going to near 350. And that's in 5 years if we don't do anything. So that's, the study that I do when I look at a market. We're partnering with ProMedica. We're buying the land on the south side of their campus. We're acquiring about 21 acres. I think we're going to develop somewhere in the vicinity about 9 acres of our 21. We're improving the detention pond behind us so that if we ever need to, the empty lot, which is about 8 acres, we can go back and develop that a little bit more. The independent living demand today is 140 unmet units. So independent living, people that still are looking to downsize and then move into somewhere. And that's a great feeder program for us because those residents can come over to the main building, participate in any of our activities, in our dining services, as well as transportation if they need that.
Pretty good. Any questions from council?
Just out of curiosity, all total, what's gonna be the capacity for occupants?
So in the main building, we'll have 65 assisted living, which is going to be on your left-hand side, and then the memory care, which is a single-story building, will have 29. So what's that, 109? And then we'll have 30 independent living. So under the residential care, 109.
Mr. Rusty?
I think this is a great project, and I thank you for considering Defiance.
It's been on my radar for a long time. So much so that I left my previous employer to start my own company to build here.
Very good. Well, thanks for choosing us. I'd ask you if you had an idea on the cost, but I probably don't want to know.
I don't either.
You don't want to know either?
Oh, I know, but
I'll just say, Ross and his team have been very good for us to work with, spending most of their time obviously with Melinda in engineering, Nikki in planning, and Rex in zoning. But one of the issues that came up, that always comes up, are sidewalks, and Ross agreed to develop sidewalks all the way from ProMedica parking lot clear at the northeast corner of their property all the way around, so we appreciate that.
Yes, that's
my
very
pleasure.
helpful.
The only caveat to that is I drove out there.
Caveats, Ross.
Well, I think 2 weeks ago, we said we put the 5-foot wide sidewalk, and I think the hospital came across the creek with only a 4-foot. So can I match that?
I would,
Consider it? Would you consider it?
yes.
Okay, you don't have to say as a public meeting, no to me.
Any other questions?
Melinda's probably watching, I'll keep an eye out for a text.
Oh, it would make sense, it would match up, I mean.
If it's 5 foot, I'll do 5 foot. Or if you tell me I have to
I'm
do 5
thinking
foot, I'll do 5
2
foot.
people on walkers.
Have ProMedica enlarge ours.
There you go. All right.
Keith's not here tonight.
Guys have been great to work with.
Yes,
They
thank
really,
you.
really have.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Any other questions?
Doesn't look like it.
All right.
We're looking forward to getting started.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good deal.
Mr. O'Donnell, let's do the next one, maybe.
Yeah, so the next one is for Maumee Heights Planned Unit Development. This is also a mixed-use project that they're applying for an office residential mixed-use planned unit development classification. Their plan is for apartments, storage units, retail, and electric vehicles charging stations. They're located, the proposed site is 492 Domersville Road. Capsize LLC has a representative here for your questions. And again, the next step after this public hearing would be for us to bring legislation to you at the August 8th City Council meeting.
Welcome.
Thank you. Christopher Doe, 1330 Ironwood Court, Defiance, Ohio. Like Sean mentioned, my wife and I recently moved back from Cleveland, Ohio to my hometown. We had an idea of starting a convenience store, electric charging station right off 24 there in between Toledo and Fort Wayne. I believe there's only one public charging station in Napoleon between those two cities. With that, as we moved back, we had little trouble finding places to live and places to put our stuff. So we kind of expanded our scope a little bit with apartments, townhomes, and then self-storage units.
Questions, anybody? Go ahead, Mr.
How
Wax.
many townhomes you putting in, Chris?
There'd be 5 buildings of 4 units each.
4 each?
Yeah. And then the idea is to tie everything together, same color scheme, same look.
So the houses are gonna be out in the front and or how big is that?
So the
Where they go, Lisa?
charging, convenience store charging station would sit at the, close to Commerce Drive.
Okay,
The potential retail, the townhomes would sit up against the back of the homes. They're off Pinehurst, and I believe it's the dermatology building now, and then the self-storage, again, off Commerce Drive.
so is that, I know that right now there's isn't there some kind of a buffer out there? There had to be, now what's that gonna do for that? Will that add to the buffer or?
That is in the buffer zone, Mr. Waxler, that was established when all that property was purchased by the city of Defiance, and then we put that, I believe it's 500-foot buffer zone.
Right.
Is that correct, Mark? Yeah. And, that was zoned such that it fits with what Mr. Doe's proposing here. And so, we will, this still has to go to planning commission, but they've seen some preliminary plans of it, and we just weren't able to make it work at our last meeting, but we meet here again in a couple weeks. But it seems to fit quite well. It was either here or I guess it was at planning commission. There was some objection by a couple people in the neighborhood that felt shouldn't allow warehousing. I tried to explain that self-storage isn't really warehousing, it's just little, I think you all know the difference between warehousing and self-storage units. I know there's a lot of people that have been excited about the convenience store piece so that they didn't have to run all the way into Defiance.
I think there's been some confusion too, it seems, as to what this buffer zone entails. Some have under the impression, I believe, that buffer zone means nothing.
That's where I was going with it.
And I thought we made that during the rezoning process, Mr. Mast, well, all members of council, I thought we made that abundantly clear that multifamily housing, professional offices, anything along that line would be certainly fine. What we didn't want was any sort of manufacturing, especially heavy manufacturing that might have 24/7 operations with lots of noise and things such as that. This certainly meets the standards that I felt we set and that we committed to the neighborhood when this was originally planned out.
Now, in this drawing on the front bottom quadrant, I know the townhouses are on the bottom left, right?
Correct.
And what's in the front?
The plan would be to retail, professional,
Okay.
And I think it's important to mention too, Chris, is that you don't plan on building this all out at once.
Correct.
Expect to do this in phases.
Correct.
There's there certainly in the community seems to be a demand. You've already experienced housing and storage, so, and I gave you my thoughts on what I've heard on the convenience store.
What phase are you going with for, what's your plan kinda, Chris? I mean, if you'd wanna say or not.
I think the first plan would be to the convenience store and then the self-storage, and then,
The
trying to
homes
get the
after
homes,
that.
correct.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
To go along with the convenience store, the most prevalent question I've had is from my son Henry, and it is, will you be selling football and baseball cards at the convenience store? He's very concerned. It's right around the corner from him. He wants to make sure that he'll have access. I just, you don't have to, just throwing that out there.
Anything else? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, I've reviewed the minutes from the July 11th and the 25th. And anybody has any additions or corrections to them? I'll approve them as presented. Do we have any requests for liaison meetings or reports? None? Okay. Council comments, anybody have any comments tonight? Mr. Waxman?
The section of Commerce Drive where it's not finished, is that Harmon's job to finish yet? When is he gonna do that?
I think, Mr. Waxler, we've had several site visits there, and if we finish that road now, or if Harmon finished that road now, it would certainly probably be Murphy's Law that we'd get it in the wrong spot and end up having to move it. There has been some discussion about running a spur over to the existing business that's there now. So we'd want to get that located so when the road's built, it intersects with that spur in a perpendicular manner. I think just stay tuned. It's Harmon's to finish at this point, and there's been a lot of activity. I spoke to Mr. Beringer before the meeting about some site visits that are upcoming, and we'll see where that brings us.
I mean, I thought that was the goal, to get that clear through to
It certainly is the goal.
Dahmersville, and
Yep.
it's like I know, Harmon,
If you want it done, we can pay for it, but that's
no, it's
not,
Harmon's good job to do it, so.
right.
I mean,
Yep. But I think you have to understand, if we build a road and somebody comes along and needs 250,000 square feet and the road's in the way, then we're gonna have to move the road, and that's,
But didn't we already have this, when we bought the right of way for the railroad and all that, didn't we already have this planned out? To where it was gonna connect to what was already there?
it's on paper, it's
Yeah.
drawn
We're not
out.
following now, we're going,
Depends on how it develops, sir, I'm sorry.
based on we got a lot of money sitting there, we can't go nowhere on, so.
Mr. Russell?
You know, it's good questions that, Mr. Waxer's basically saying. I guess the question comes down to it is, how long do we wait? I mean, I understand it that we're waiting for something to come up before the road's put in, so we
Okay.
don't have to move the road again.
Right?
So how long do we wait?
I see some advantages to completing the road as a secondary route for some people. But we haven't had the road. What would be there would be some benefit to Manville. There would certainly be some benefit to the Keller Logistics Group. And I guess if Manville and Keller want the road, then they should get with Harmon and maybe they can figure out a way to get it built. But as far as completing the road, without the development there, and only to find that 3 years from now, a company comes along and says, well, this is how we need our building set out in relationship to having access to the rail. And oh, by the way, you're gonna have to move 200 feet of your road. That doesn't look very smart to me.
So the answer is basically, it's to be determined at a later date,
Yeah,
and we don't have that date.
nope.
Why would Keller or John Manville have to go to Harmon to get that done? I don't understand that.
It's on Harmon's property.
Exactly. So why would they have to go to, I mean, isn't that our job to make sure the road's completed, not Keller's or Manville? I'm just asking.
Require somebody to build a road on their own property.
Well, that was the whole idea when we started this whole process, to be able to have businesses go in there and make it look attractive. Well, it's not very attractive right now because the road dead ends are not there.
Just because the road dead ends doesn't mean it's attractive. I think it's very attractive.
Well,
I think Harmon did a wonderful job building that building. It's nicely landscaped, the mounds in front, very well done.
Mr. O'Donnell.
A good case study and a lived experience we had recently was Geneva Boulevard, where we had that water line like going diagonal across where the road was supposed to go and where part of the development was supposed to go, and that was not cheap to move that, correct?
Right.
And we don't want to repeat that. It's a lesson learned, but
A number of times that we've had site visits at Enterprise Industrial Park, Plumbers Edition. And they look at it and say, well, we're gonna have to tear out the last 300 feet of this road the way we wanna situate our plant to have access to the Patriot Railroad. And, you know, it's just, you're just gonna have to be patient. I'm sorry. Come budget time, if you wanna budget the money to
it's
complete the
our job
road.
to do. I'm not
That's-
getting involved in that. We aren't going to pay for nothing.
issue.
It's
It's not our issue.
his project, you know?
What I think will happen is eventually we'll get a project in there and Mr. Harmon, like anyone, will go to ODOT and Jobs Ohio and Regional Growth Partners and lobby to get money to help him pay to finish that road. That's what I'd do if I were at Harmon. And I think that's what will happen. I don't know whether that'll happen next month, next week, next year, 5 years from now. It'll happen.
Any other comments from council? There's nothing on the president's desk tonight. Mayor McCann, you're up.
You know, my only concern is over the weekend, I saw a video of Cardi B make a left-handed toss of a microphone, and I have some concern that we might have a weapon there.
We should tether it to the.
Yeah.
Cardi B, huh?
Okay.
She winged that dude.
We're learning how to duck.
That's really all I have, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Mack,
The one update I wanted to bring to council, the mayor and I met over at the building next door this morning with Vicki Myers, the county treasurer, and an environmental specialist. That property, I know council has asked about it in the past, so I wanted to make sure we were keeping you updated. That property will go into the land bank's hands tomorrow, and they will begin looking at what they need to do to get the property demoed and remediated. So it is moving forward. I think we're all excited for it. It'll be a good project for the county's land bank, but I wanted to make sure you were updated on what was going on with that.
I'll just say that in the back of my mind, I was always hoping that maybe we could refurbish that building and repurpose that building. Well, I was in it today. It's one of the worst cases of mold I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of bad mold cases, but it's bad. Some of the structural wood beams are starting to fail where I wouldn't step under them. I did not feel safe in that building, and I'll be glad.
Like where they cut the hose for the cars to go through the roof.
Yeah, it's bad. I think if any of you, for whatever reason, want to see it, we can make those arrangements, but I would strongly encourage you to wear an N95 mask, because the air quality cannot be good.
There is nothing stored in there anymore, is there?
Junk.
Is there?
There's probably some wire that can be torn out, Mr. Waxler, for the copper, some steel to recycle, and there are some big I-beams in there.
No, I meant there, that one
No.
time he was renting some spots
Yeah,
in there for
no.
storage. I
No.
don't think it's still there.
No.
But everything is closed and secure.
Yep. Keys in my pocket.
we done?
That's all
Mr.
at this
Mr.
time, Mr. President.
Mr. O'Donnell,
I have nothing further for you
really?
today.
Ryan, anything on the bids for,
I actually talked to Melinda about it. right before
Derbyshire.
close
is one
business.
blank, yeah.
Her and Warren, we're still, I think, working on a couple things, going back and forth on them. I will get you an update.
That's
as soon
Kenner
as I-
really,
That's
yeah,
Kenner.
about Derbyshire.
Derbyshire.
I'm talking Derbyshire.
We'll have legislation for
Yeah.
you next week.
Sorry.
We had a bidder and we're gonna bring it next
It's on
week.
the wrong road.
Okay.
There you go.
I wonder what you.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the roads, so don't feel bad.
Everybody good? Got a few minutes for public concerns, if anybody's interested. How about you, Matt? You drove all the way here.
That's
You got
Mark.
anything to-
Matt's his son.
Oh, Mark, sorry. Got the wrong one. Thanks for your correction. I should have known better. Anybody else? We will have a meeting next week, even though it's there's a vote going on. We will be here next week. If anything else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. Got it. All in favor, say aye.